r/AskReddit. Americans of Reddit, what's your best 4th of July firework, oh crap, moment? You know those box fireworks that shoot like 50 little rockets in a row? One year, our dog knocked one of them over, and it blew out a few front windows of our house. One year, I was throwing firecrackers on the ground when one of our cats thought they were toys or something, and ran over, and picked one up in its mouth. I thank the heavens to this day that that particular firecracker was a dud and didn't explode, or that poor cat would have lost its jaw and I would have been traumatized forever. My buddy and I were lighting off the mortar type fireworks in my driveway, and we accidentally loaded one upside down. The end result was basically a grenade of light and sparks with a 10-foot radius, about 10 feet from us. We then proceeded to only light the fireworks upside down for the rest of the night. The year after, I realized how stupid and dangerous that was, but dang if it wasn't cool. This 4th of July, I was swimming in my pool with my brother and his friend after we got home from our town's 4th of July parade and annual fireworks display. I was in the pool, and then we heard this giant explosion close to the house. My house is far from the street and surrounded by trees, and it was dark, so we couldn't really tell where it came from. I asked my mom, what was that? And she said it was an explosive, probably an M80. We also heard a few gunshots. Oh, and last year, a house caught on fire. I was helping my friend's family with their big show. They would take the artillery shells apart and use a custom launcher. I was transporting a bunch of these to the launch site, and one of the launchers messed up, and the series of shells went off at ground level. I just instinctively turned away and covered the shells in my hands with my body. Light seemed to explode everywhere around me, but thankfully none of them set off the ones in my hands. It was over super quick and left me thinking, did that really just happen? So I was at the beach, and there was this pyrotech staying at the same apartment complex as I was. He used to do a big firework show every year, and then one day, during a very dry year, some of the ashes from the fireworks fell on a nearby bush, and a little fire started to spark, almost causing a huge brush fire. Everyone in the apartment complex worked together and got buckets of water to put it out. Luckily, we were able to put out the fire quickly. It's something we don't speak of to this day. Moral of the story: fire plus dry grass equals a disaster. Canadian here. We still do fireworks for our holiday though. My uncle used to have a license for professional grade fireworks, like the super high powered ones that they use at big festivals and stuff. He and his buddy would come and do shows for the family at my parents' farm every year, and it was really cool. But with these fireworks, it wasn't just a matter of lighting them and away you go. A lot of prep work was required, like they actually had to anchor them to the ground so the blast didn't knock over the whole row. And for some of the bigger fireworks, they would have to dig pipes made of PVC into the ground and set them up like mortars. Anyways, during the setup phase, one of these mortar style fireworks was put in upside down, and no one noticed until later, when during the fireworks show, they lit it, and instead of going up, it blew a crater 8 feet wide and 4 feet deep into the field. And that, kids, is why professional grade fireworks require a license. A few years ago, my family and some of my friends and I were shooting fireworks. We were all sitting around a fire pit while people shot them off in the driveway about 100 feet away. One guy who we didn't know too well had been drinking a bit, and he came over to the fire pit with some empty firework tubes, and he threw them right into the fire. We all looked around at each other, concerned, but he assured us that the tubes were empty. About a minute later, there was this loud pop in the fire. We all immediately stood up from our chairs and everything was very tense. We realized what was happening, but right as we turned to run, the fireworks went off right in the fire pit, and suddenly all I saw was a bright flash and sparks and smoke everywhere. I ended up with holes in my shirt and pants, a few people got some burns from the sparks, and another woman had some more serious burns. But, fortunately, no one was badly injured or killed. I have several. One time, at a minor league baseball stadium, where they had a professional fireworks show after the game, I thought they seemed to be exploding a little too low, and I mentioned that to my friend. He said, they know what they're doing, just as a burning fragment landed between his feet. Then more fragments started hitting cars in the parking lot, and we got out of there. Another time, while I was home, a Roman candle fell over and fired all 6 shots at me, my parents, and my kids. Also at home, last year, actually, my wife had a large Roman candle explode in her hand. It fired 2 of the 5 shots, and then the rest all went off at once, right in the tube. Yes, I know they always say not to hold them in your hand, but you know that everybody does it anyway. Besides, if you don't, it can fall over and shoot at you, your parents, and your kids. A long time ago, in my misspent youth, I put a lot of effort into scraping off the silver part from several boxes of sparklers. They were the old kind, with silver powder coated onto a metal wire. I was keeping the stuff in a styrofoam cup. Later, we were setting off fountains, the only legal fireworks in my state at the time, and I thought some of the sparks might land in my cup of sparkler, so I picked it up. A spark did fall into it, and the whole thing started to burn with a very hot white flame. I had quite a burn across the whole back of my hand, and all the sparkler powder was wasted. I had plans for the powder, but I don't really remember what they were. Probably something stupid and dangerous. Last night, it's the 5th day, we were setting off the last 5-inch mortar of the night. We didn't coordinate with the family we were meeting up with to combine fireworks, so we ended up getting 3 large boxes of the 5-inch mortars. We were regularly switching out the tubes to launch them, like we were supposed to, but something went wrong. I was the one to set off the last mortar. I picked a tube, tested it to see if it was stable to launch. It was very sturdy, and put the mortar in, right side up, and lit it. Mind you, this was in the center of a side street, where there were a few cars not too far away, and a couple of trees, but still at a safe distance. There were houses on either side of the road, and 8 of us standing on the sidewalk watching. So I lit the thing, and ran and jumped to get onto the sidewalk. I landed and spun around just in time to hear a very loud boom and see colorful sparks where the launcher once was. The tube malfunctioned and this mortar exploded on the ground and easily could have seriously injured me or the other 7 bystanders. Thank goodness no one got hurt, but it makes for a good story. Many years ago, a chicken-shaped firework that my mother had lit went sideways and our house almost burned up. Thankfully, we live in a brick house. There was this one time, I was lighting modified bottle rockets with my dad and my brothers. We had an assortment of smaller things that we'd attach to them with duct tape before lighting them. On one particular bottle rocket, we attached a crackling ball that was a bit too heavy. The bottle rocket arced into our neighbor's field and exploded, setting off the crackler. We didn't think anything of it at first, until a few minutes later, when we saw black smoke rising from the middle of the neighbor's field. 5 minutes of panic and some mild burns later, we were able to put out the fire, and the neighbor never brought it up. Good times. I also once had to jump over a bottle rocket that flew towards me, and another one nearly blew up a gas canister in my dad's garage. We just don't ever learn. I was only about 1 beer in when this happened yesterday. Yeah, of course I had to say that. I took a mortar tube that was actually a one-time use firework instead of the correct tube. It had a mortar inside of it already. It was dark, and I put one of the reusable mortars inside of it. I then lit it, and it blew up on the ground. There were sparks about 5 feet from everyone. I've never had an accident even remotely as dangerous as that one was. I'm actually pretty disappointed in myself. I couldn't imagine if the second one blew up, but I lit it after the first one and it worked. Nothing as spectacular as the rest here, but we, my family and I, used to set off butterflies, which are tiny ground fireworks that spin and jump into the air 3 to 4 feet high and then might shoot off in any direction before making a small pop. We'd set them off and run as they chased us. One time, we set them off on the edge of the uncovered porch of the house so that they'd have a flat place to start spinning. They really took off, and one of us opened the screen door and hid on the backside of it as some of the butterflies went shooting off in that direction. One of them hit the storm door and bounced inside the house. We ended up with a burn mark on the living room rug from that one. Never had any problems with mortars, etc. because we didn't do alcohol with our fireworks. My idiot uncle decided to light 4 different fireworks at the same time. My cousin and I were barely able to dodge them all, and then we ran like bats out of hell. Fortunately, no one was injured. That uncle doesn't come to do the fireworks with us anymore. I am this uncle. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below. Please subscribe and click the notification bell for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.